What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Streckmine, joined always by my main man, Jacob Punturi. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers introduced a new batch of players today. We're diving into everything that we learned, our first impressions with this team, and why some quarterback news, drama, reports, rumors, whatever you want to call them, could all be a conspiracy theory to cover up the Pittsburgh Steelers' real plans at the quarterback position this season. Plus, we'll answer your questions as always. Shout out to our members and our super chatters as always. If you want to become a Steelers Intel member or an AST Nation member, you could do so by clicking the link below. Lots of cool stuff, little nuggets, and so on and so forth. It's a pretty decent one out in the Berg. Back and forth by like the craziest back and forth weather we've had all week.
Yeah.
How you feeling, my friend?
I'm feeling good. And this is just the time of year we're in. We're scattered.
Yes.
We're back and forth. We're looking all over the place.
For sure.
We're warm one minute, we're cold the next, and it feels very similar to what we've been getting from the Pittsburgh Steelers in general, which is we think we're hot on the trail on something, and then all of a sudden it goes the complete opposite direction. But I mean, that's the really fun part of this time of year. So you know what? It's a little crazy, but I like it. I like where we're at right now.
Yeah, I very much so agree. I think that right now it's getting towards it. And just like the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're getting towards something.
Creeping.
What that something is, we'll find out. I got an Aaron Rodgers update last night.
Did you?
Yeah.
We're eager to hear it.
You want to know what it said?
Yeah.
Probably before the NFL draft. And I said, you want to know what I wrote back? I said, that's so annoying. It's not fun times. It's not fun times, my man. And look, we don't have to talk Aaron Rodgers right now. That's not the conversation we're going to have. Instead, we're going to talk other quarterbacks, and we're going to get there. But first, let's talk the guys that were introduced this afternoon: Michael Pittman Jr., Rico Dowdle, and Jamal Dean. The Steelers introduced them. I just got back from the press conferences this afternoon. Lots of cool stuff. Michael Pittman Jr., if you don't like him, you should like him now. Guy was easily won me over. Jamal Dean as well. I want to dive into him and Patrick Graham's first reaction because I think that is very newsworthy. And Rico Dowdle being, I think, just a running back, which sometimes you just need a running back. And I'm very excited for that one. Let's start with Michael Pittman Jr., the biggest guy, obviously. What were your first impressions of the guy?
I mean, it's all about the person that Michael Pittman is, and I don't think there was ever any doubts about the reputation. Like, this guy, by all accounts, has had a sterling reputation since arriving in 2020 in the NFL. And I mean, gosh, I could have just watched him speak and listened to him all day. This is a guy who has talked a lot about his family, talked about a lot about personal challenges that he has overcome in his life. And he does it all with this sort of overwhelmingly optimistic attitude and this determined mindset that just kind of pushes him forward. It makes him so easy to root for. So I was just, easily entertained. I was very excited, and it made me even more excited, to use that word again, to cover his season here with the Pittsburgh Steelers, because it seems like he's going to be a great addition to the offense, but also a great person to add to the locker room. And we're all about having the best athletes and the best sort of people that represent Pittsburgh in this city. So I'm excited to see it. Any other impressions?
I think that's really it. What caught my eye football wise, because I agree with you. Michael Pittman Jr. won me over. Talked about his stutter. Talked about owning to me, the stutter was awesome, and I love when guys open up about that stuff. To follow it up with, I own a big giant 100-acre farm, and I got a peacock named Penny. I was like, I'm a fan, dude. You got me. I am not a farm owner. I live in the city of Pittsburgh. I grew up in the suburbs, which were not the farms. But if you asked me, Noah, what would the perfect retirement for you be? I'd say going to hang out with my cows and my chickens, you know what I mean? In the middle of Pennsylvania, as they call it.
And your peacock named Penny.
And my peacock named Penny having a good time. Also didn't realize you could have peacocks in the middle of Indiana. That's nuts to me to be able to actually, it snows all the time there. I just don't get it.
Cold weather peacock.
Named Penny. Shout out. What caught me football wise was him saying right from the jump, I'm not going to disclose anything, but Mike McCarthy made it known that I'm going to expand my route tree. Mm-hmm. To me, I immediately said, oh, okay. Like the Steelers look at you as much more than a go up and get it football player. Mm-hmm. I'm excited for that. I still think at 28 years old, Michael Pittman Jr. has got enough juice in the tank to be a guy that you could expand on a little bit. You know, he's not, he's there at a place. He's entering year 8 of his NFL career. And you could look at him and go, look at dude, you might have one more decent, like real decent to good season in you, but you can make the most out of that. And I like that they're going to expand it, because if you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, the last X amount of years, you know, you could go all the way back to, honestly, since the moment AB left, everybody has one route or one collective group of routes in Pittsburgh. You have one job as a wide receiver, and that job is to, if you're George Pickens, run straight down the sideline. If you're Deontay Johnson, to run comeback routes. If you're Calvin Austin, to run across the middle of the field. Like that's all you do. To immediately say, hey, we're going to expand on that. We're going to have much more for a wide receiver to do. I took that as a massive positive for the Pittsburgh Steelers here.
Yeah, I mean, hard not to, for sure. And it seemed to be such a departure, because the way he described Indianapolis was very similar to what the Pittsburgh Steelers were employing over their most recent offenses, right? Where everyone had a very ingrained role and you didn't really get away from it. And while it can be a really great way to build chemistry and to sort of, you know, have everyone come together as a team, it also can, you know, really limit what guys can do on the field. And Michael Pittman Jr. certainly became a guy who was more of a safety valve option for the Indianapolis Colts. He got away from the sort of more athletic parts of his route tree. And so I'm excited that, you know, the Steelers were picking up on a player who was maybe underutilized the past couple of seasons in Indianapolis, and now they can sort of expand that role. And I think it just also goes to show that this Pittsburgh Steelers offense is going to look different. How different,
for sure. How much
better, I'm not sure, but they're clearly going after a different type of player and a different skill set within those players.
Yes.
So I'm pumped about this.
Me too. To have, I think that's what comes with an offensive minded guy, is to have that, you know, that mindset of like, oh, we could do a lot. It's like, what? On offense, you could do a lot. You could do things. I don't even know what that means in Pittsburgh. Right. They've done nothing for as long as you could remember. I think that's huge. I don't know if my expectations for Michael Pittman changed. I think my fandom of him certainly changed. I'm a massive fan of Michael Pittman after today. I also really enjoyed the fact that he was very open to say, yeah, our wide receiver room is pretty thin, and we're probably going to add some people, and I don't really care where they come from. I'm all about it. To me, that's huge. Him saying that Aaron, you know, what do you think the Steelers told him about Aaron? What do you think they told him about Aaron coming?
He seemed a little, he seemed very calm in general, you know, and it's hard to gauge whether this was just he would have had the same response to any situation, or if maybe there is some conversations happening behind closed doors that would give him a lot of reason to believe his quarterback is Aaron Rodgers. Because not only did he, you know, that he mentioned that they had worked together, or trained together rather, in California in recent off seasons. And he also mentioned how good of a quarterback room they had, and then specific, you know, named Mason and Will.
Yeah, shout out to Mason. First time he's been mentioned all offseason by anybody.
Genuinely, right? Like he probably was like, wait, who, me? Oh my gosh.
This was like, what? I still play football for the Steelers? Are you kidding me?
It's awesome. The sun's shone on Mason
His
Rudolph.
Mom called. He was like, hey, I heard your name. I forgot about you. I didn't realize that you still played football. It's like, yeah, we're here.
A lot of people felt the same way, but not Michael Pittman Jr. And he said that there is a good room with those two guys. And wow, that is a great teammate, right? Like, in that the reputation, of course, precedes him. You know, that's also just false. And so to say that there's a good quarterback room, it makes me, maybe he's saying that because he knows that the starter is going to be much better than the options currently there.
For sure. I have such a hard time, and I have conspiracy theories about Mike McCarthy and Will Howard that I'm truthfully not willing to share in public because they go deep, and I'm not willing to burn bridges yet on a backup quarterback. That's just not my thing. But when it comes to Aaron, I would imagine they said, look, dude, Aaron's going to be your quarterback. And worst case scenario, next year you're going to get first round pick. And you're going to be here for 3 years and everything's totally fine. And you're going to get your quote unquote quarterback. And everything's, look, you had Anthony Richardson, you had old Matt Ryan, you had old Joe Flacco. Like this is better immediately. Mason Rudolph is better than what you've been working with outside of Daniel Jones.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
As a collective, before last season, probably, honestly. I don't think it takes much to impress, but I agree with you. I think that they said something. Rico Dowdle, let's turn to him real fast. Did you ever see the YouTube video of the guy who's like, James Dean, dog. Mike McCarthy, dog. The football player, the high school guy who's naming all the running backs. He's like, Jamal Adams didn't even know he played linebacker. Dog.
I don't know in this moment if I have, but I like your impression enough to say yes.
Thank you. That's Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle,
sure.
Dog. Guy came up. He's just like, yeah, man, I just play physical football. I like physical football. That's cool for me. And I was just like, yeah, that's him. Him and Jaylen Warren being undrafted guys and recognizing it. Did you catch his part where Jaylen texted Rico?
I did. Yes.
I think Jaylen is a fantastic teammate. I think that he's overlooked a lot of the time in that locker room. And I think that he never once cares about it. I think he's always like, yeah, man, whatever. For him to reach out to Rico, for him to be that guy, like, I don't know, man. I think that this running back room is going to play with a lot of heart this year. Yeah. I was fired up about it being there.
There's a ton of pride from those two guys, right? And there comes with, there's an especially sort of underdog mentality for guys who are undrafted coming out of school, and then they make a name for themselves. And these are two of the best, these are the two best undrafted free agent running backs, right? Yeah. Unless there's another one that I'm forgetting at the moment. But, it's just very impressive. So, that they're going to bring that passion all the way through. And you know what? You mentioned a clip, and I'll mention one that I've kind of brought up for me. Of the many great Marshawn Lynch clips that we saw, there's one, and I can't quote it verbatim because we're in the early part of the show here. But he describes like the feeling of just running a person over.
Yeah.
Running them over and over and over and over and over. And I just got the sense that he being Rico Dowdle really enjoys that physical part of football of just going after a defender with the ball in his hands, initiating that contact, picking up the extra couple of yards. And again, like I've described that type of player being an ideal complement alongside Jaylen Warren to like kind of alleviate some of the wear and tear, pick up some of those parts of Jaylen Warren's games so he can be freed up in other ways. And Rico Dowdle, the way he spoke today, certainly confirmed to me that this guy's going to play a physical between the tackles type of role for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'm pumped about it.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm so excited for these two. Like, I'm just excited for a ground and pound football team that actually has ground and pound on the roster. Right. Najee Harris, fun. They had way too much on his shoulders. He's not a starting running back. He's a number 2. Jaylen Warren should have been the number 1. And if you utilize that correctly, I think they would have been phenomenal. But they didn't want to do that. I mean, where we sit today, man, that's exciting stuff. I'm very excited for it for sure. Let's pivot away from the new guys. Unless you got anything. I mean, guess Jamal Dean and Patrick Graham and him saying Patrick Graham got on him and was revving him up at the NFL Combine, trying to give him a hard time. That's awesome to me.
It's what I found most interesting, and if anyone was not watching Jamal Dean's introductory press conference, he spoke about how during his pre-draft interviews, Patrick Graham was with the Miami Dolphins at the time as a defensive coordinator. Brings up one play that Jamal Dean said was what he described as he loafed on the play, meaning he kind of took it off, and Patrick Graham showed him it because, of course, they do their work, they do their due diligence, and called him a lazy player, and with the intention of trying to get a rise out of him, trying to see how he responds to sort of being frustrated and provoked in that situation. And it was just hilarious to see that is a little peek behind the curtain as to how NFL coaches and NFL scouts will sort of evaluate players on a personal level, and then also just to see, the 7 years later, these two guys are working together again. I'm sure they're having a good laugh about that in their next meetings.
For sure. He said he walked in, he's like, glad we got off on a better foot. That's awesome, dude. And I think Jamal Dean's a good guy, but I've heard the same thing. I've heard Patrick Graham is, he's a get on you type of guy, but that's how Brian Flores was. Brian Flores walked in the door and everybody's like, this guy's a hard ass. Like this guy, they called him a bulldog because he was just like warlike. And I'm like, all right, it's what you want in defensive guys. That's what you don't want. Anybody who comes in here and being soft, you want a guy that's going to look at you and be like, you suck, dude, get better. That's what you want. These are defensive mind. They're crazy individuals. To play defense in the National Football League, you are a little bit of a psychopath.
You're certainly not sane.
That's what I'm saying. Like your job is to run full force into these guys and try to hit them as hard as humanly. You're not sane.
Rasheed Walker to the Panthers.
I saw that.
You see that?
I did see that. Which we'll dive into that here.
Yeah, sorry,
shortly. But I did see that. And I love that from Patrick Graham. I really truly do. Let's talk about free agency for a second here. Jaquan Brisker signs last night. Massive, my friend.
Huge move.
Massive. First off, shout out to Mike Tomlin, who made us wait 3 hours last night to show up and say he's not answering questions. I don't care if everybody could be like, he doesn't deserve you. He doesn't earn, you don't deserve anything from the guy. I was pissed, man. I was, don't put his name on the press release and make everybody adjust their schedules all night for this. Doesn't show up, but as a consolation prize, we all got the news that Jaquan Brisker is coming to Pittsburgh, which I'll take. Don't get me wrong. I'll take $5.5 million. Absolute steal of a signing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Comes in here. They view him as a guy who could play everywhere. I think there are a lot of reports out there of he's just a box safety. They do not view him as a box safety. They think he could play all over the place. They expect him to play all over the place. He's going to be the guy next to Deshaun Elliott. I mean, to me, that's really exciting.
It's extremely exciting. It is 2 quick points on this. One, it is another tip of the cap to Omar Khan and how he has navigated this financial situation with free agency relative to the rest of the NFL. He has just gotten a ton of value for significantly less than the rest of the NFL is paid. So kudos to him. Secondly, I agree 100%. This alleviates a ton of the pressure that might have been on someone like a Jalen Ramsey to make a full-time transition to safety. It gives them a starter quality. He's not a box safety. This guy is a menace in pass defense. He is a guy who can cover. Is he the best safety on the market? No, but he is a player who complements this defense and improves it instantly. Yeah. So, two for one there. You get a great player for very cheap, and your secondary should take a step forward. So I'm excited. And who doesn't love a hometown kid coming home, the Gateway High School graduate coming back to play in front of friends and family? That's just incredible.
Okay, so do you know his family history?
No, I know.
It's actually incredibly impressive. His grandfather was an ABA player in Pittsburgh.
That's
sick. His dad was a boxer
with the Pipers.
And with the Pipers. Nice. His dad was a boxer. And his brother, who tragically died while he was in high school, was also a phenomenal football player at Gateway. So this dude's born. Andy went to Lackawanna College. Shout out to any PA up there. Shout out. This guy comes in here. I think this might end up being the best signing. This has Deshaun Elliott signing written all over it. A guy that in 2 years after he restructures his deal and adds to it, the Steelers are looking at going, this is our guy. This is a guy that's going to start here for the next 4 seasons and be the guy next to Deshaun Elliott. I also, if you have not seen, there are TikToks out there of compilations of Jaquan Brisker talking smack. And then also go to his Twitter page, because him and Deshaun have very similar social medias. Minus the fashion stuff on Deshaun's, it's really just a lot of shit talking to the maximum. To the I will show up at your doorstep degree.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what you want, a safety, man.
I mean, listen, I know that another Penn State graduate on the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is very good at the trash talking component.
Also,
they
fantastic.
played a little bit of time together up in Happy Valley. Listen, if you can back it up, I'm such a big fan of trash talk, right? Because I find it just unbelievably entertaining. The only thing that comes out more is I'm like, you can't trash talk when you're down 30 or your team gives up 250 passing yards a game and be like, no fly zone. You know, like you can't do that. But
DB special.
Yeah. But I am such a fan of guys who can talk the talk and then walk the walk. And I'm pumped to see. That's been like my word of the day, I'm noticing in my speech. But I'm excited about the additions that they've brought in and how they can just positively impact the defense.
I agree. I very much so agree. I'm a huge Jaquan Brisker fan. I think what this does for the Steelers defense is massive. I don't think that they're done in the secondary this offseason, but I expect it to come in the NFL draft. And I think that like a mid-round guy is really what we're looking at here in terms of who they're going to add when that happens to be like the 4th or the 5th or whatever it is. On the other side of that, real quick reaction here. Calvin Austin, Connor Heyward leave. I got one question for you. First off, shout out to both of those guys. Incredible humans. Wish them nothing but the best. Calvin Austin went for $1.5 million with the incentives that bring it up to $4.5 million, $100,000 guaranteed. I have a very straightforward question to ask you. Is that a clear indication to how bad Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers evaluation of talent has been recently, that guy was supposed to be their savior at wide receiver last year as a wide receiver too, and the rest of the NFL said he's worth $100,000?
It's certainly it's a damning condemnation of this team's ability to evaluate talent on offense overall. Yes. I don't want to put it 100% on Mike Tomlin. I would argue he certainly deserves some of the blame. Omar Khan, Kevin Colbert, Art Rooney II. They're all very culpable in this situation. But the fact remains, this team's ability to evaluate talent on defense is so much better than how they evaluate talent on offense. And we see it there. And I love, like, again, this time last year, we were talking about, how can Calvin Austin take that step into wide receiver 2, because he has the talent, he has the work ethic to be there. But clearly something was missing in this evaluation of Calvin Austin. I wish him nothing but the best. Hope he gets those $4.5 million in incentives. But man, this team cannot pick a wide receiver recently to save its life.
No, they cannot. And I think Calvin's worth 1.5 or more than $1.5 million. Yes. But I do think that it is very damning to say that was your wide receiver 2 last year, and you tied yourself to him so heavily. Yeah. Yikes. Who does the tush push in 2026?
Wow. I think you have to replace Connor with Cam.
Just Cam Heyward out there. He's got 2 years left. I could see next year just being like, go ahead. You just get out there.
I would actually ask Mason Rudolph if he was interested.
That's a good one.
He has the reach.
Do you think Mason suits up on Sundays?
For a different team, maybe.
I think he's inactive, that third guy, and I don't think you could tush push that guy. I would go Benny Scow.
The Magic Show.
And I would just call it the Dirty Scow. That's what the play would be called. The Dirty Scow. Give me the dirty.
The Scow code?
Dirty Scow on 2.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, I love it.
So nasty.
I love it. I just think that would be so perfect. So perfect. I put Ben Scott. He'd get that yard. No question. That boy can have 6 broken fingers. He'd still get that yard.
I mean, that's correct. That's a great choice. Benny Scow is a great choice.
I think that's the one to go. We were talking before the podcast that, like, you could toss a running back out there, but, like, look at, dude, running backs are paid to run straight into giant humans. Oh, no. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I'm trusting that guy to take the snap.
Butterfingers.
Yeah. Like, his job is look straight, put your head down, and hope to come up alive. And that's not the guy I'm sending out there to know what side, Benny Scow, he'll figure it out.
He's just going forward.
He's the Dirty Scow on 2. I freaking love it, dude. I freaking love it.
Sounds like something you shouldn't look up on Urban Dictionary.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Something
dude, you got Dirty Scowed?
You got Dirty Scowed, dude. My 15-year-old or my 22-year-old brother would 100% tell me to do that. And that'd be or his girlfriend would say something. I'd be like, I don't know what that means. I couldn't tell you. She'd be like, dirty skull. Be like, yeet. Good. I don't know. All right, let's talk quarterbacks here. Mike Florio. So, that's where we're going to start on this conversation. He said this on Pro Football Talk podcast about the Pittsburgh Steelers, Will Howard, and how he's not buying it. Quote, I think they're trying to keep their cards close to the vest in hopes that Ty Simpson slips to them. All that Will Howard stuff is just smoke. I think they'd like to get Ty Simpson and Aaron Rodgers based on some stuff I heard yesterday. Rodgers plays for one more year, then Simpson takes over. Do you believe him?
I never believe 100% of the stuff I hear from Mike Florio, obviously. I said this a couple days ago. It might have been earlier this week, and it might have been last week. I was like, the amount of stuff I have heard about how much Will Howard is liked, and not only liked, but like positioned to start and be a meaningful starter from the Steelers, around the Steelers, like without the team. I was like, I'm not buying it anymore. You know what I mean? Like my BS meter be creeping up. And I agree a little bit with Florio's assessment here that could be what's happening. This could be a smokescreen. What it is a smokescreen for that Florio is trying to explain or allude to, I'm not buying at all, because I don't think they are hyping up Will Howard so that they can magically get their guy, Ty Simpson. I think Ty Simpson is a consolation prize that they will just happily accept if he falls to them, not trying to position themselves advantageously to draft this guy. I think they have a lot of other players way higher above him on their draft board and priority list.
I agree. I believe about 0.25% of 1/4 of the things that Mike Florio says, which is very little stuff. And I look at it simply just like you, like maybe if he's sitting there at 21, cool.
Mm-hmm.
I still think they'd pass on him.
I would.
I think that they'd sit there and say, yep, we're good. The gap between him and a Drew Aller, the gap between him and a Garrett Nussmeier, the gap between him and a Carson Beck, not that drastic, and we'll be okay. Look at the NFL's philosophy on this draft class is no one thought it was going to be this bad, and it turned out to be this bad, and they just have to embrace it and move on to the next one. But it's just not there. And also it's not like, do I think that all the hype of Will Howard coming from Mike McCarthy and everybody is real? No, I think to some degree, Mike McCarthy tied himself to Will Howard, and now he has to continue to tie himself to Will Howard. And I respect that. You know what I mean? Man got a job off of Will Howard, and he's ready to go. And I get it. But I also look at it and say that Mike McCarthy is smart enough at the quarterback position to understand that, like, he's really banking on Aaron Rodgers coming back. And, like, maybe Will Howard has to be the starter if need be. And maybe he thinks that he's moldable. Maybe that's the case. Mm-hmm. But, like, he also really understands that, like, I'd rather try to mold Will Howard than waste a first-round pick on a quarterback, and rather just be patient. And I feel like they have no desire to go out there and waste another first-round pick. They're only 5 years removed from Kenny Pickett. Like, they know that this is still so fresh in their brain, they can't do it again, and they won't.
Yeah, I think they've just shown that they, like, at least under Omar Khan, right? Like, the goal has been to take players that there's almost the best player available mindset over positional need when that is the question at stake. And that's why they landed on a guy like Derek Harmon last year instead of maybe going in a different direction positionally. I get it. I understand how it might make sense for Ty Simpson to, like, be the guy for Pittsburgh, but yeah, overwhelmingly, I just say there's no reason to put your eggs in this basket, because you could just, as you mentioned as well, just be a little patient.
Yep.
And you'll be fine.
Yep.
Like, so why,
and I think they understand that. I
agree.
There's nothing to me that says that the Steelers are in here. Like you could tell when it was Kenny and Malik, there was panic,
They needed one to be the guy.
Yeah.
And they
yeah.
decided
Kevin Colbert
one
said it. He was like,
yeah.
I won't leave this team without a franchise quarterback. He did. He actually made it significantly worse. Shout out to Kev. But
womp womp.
Yeah. But they're not going to do it again. They're not going to do it again. I give it a 0% chance that actually happens. That actually, if they were to take quarterback in the NFL draft, who's your, like, we'll change this answer probably many times between now and April 23rd, but who's your guess on who it would be?
My guess is like Drew Aller, but my guess is that it's like Drew Aller in like the 5th round. Not what people are saying right now about him kind of going up the draft boards. But yeah, I mean, that's a guy that like meets Mike McCarthy's sort of criteria of like, he has some good mechanics, some mechanics that you look at and go, we could fix this.
Oh yeah.
And some parts of his game that are just like starter level already, and you don't have to improve too much, like his arm strength.
Yes.
So that's who I'm going, but it's late round guy in that 5th round spot. So
yeah,
who you got?
I think Drew Aller is a really good guess. I feel the same about Drew Aller. Like, to me, it's where else are you going? You know, Garrett Nussmeier would be my second guess. Carson Beck would be my third. Those would be the guys that I say are on the Steelers radar that are sitting there going, you know, whatever. Like, you know, good. They look at it going, good backup quarterback, so that a year from now our quarterback room could be Will Howard, 1st round pick, Garrett Nussmeier. You know, like,
squad.
Yeah, which, like, honestly, if you put it into perspective, not the worst outcome. Like, not good, but
better.
They've had significantly worse options over the last couple of years.
Yes.
Again, let me bring you back to Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett, and Mason Rudolph days with Chris Oladokin out here not even getting OTA reps. Shout out, 2-time Super Bowl champ. It could get better. It could get better for sure. All right, that's everything on our agenda. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side of it, we're going to start answering your questions. So toss them in the chat. We'll be back in 60 seconds. What's up, AST Nation? I wanted to give a shout out to J Peace Recruiting, a Western Pennsylvania-based recruiting firm working with manufacturing companies throughout the Pittsburgh region with a heavy focus in the machining industry. Started and run by someone with 25 plus years of experience in the industry, J Peace Recruiting helps those who need real recruiting help but can't justify $10,000 to $20,000 per hire. Built for small and mid-sized shops, J Peace Recruiting offers an affordable flat monthly rate model, unlimited hires, and no per hire or placement fees. They also offer a local job board dedicated exclusively to manufacturing jobs in the region at pittsburghmanufacturingjobs.com. Check them out at jpeacerecruiting.com or by calling 1-844-952-5969. J Peace Recruiting, machining industry recruitment done right. Shout out to our boys over at J Peace Recruiting. Shout out to our members. Shout out to our super chatters. If you got questions, toss them in the chat. We'll get to as many of them as we can before we head out of here. We're going to get things kicking here with good old macaroni salad. My takes from the new player interviews. I love them a lot, especially Pittman. I agree, dude. I love Michael Pittman. That dude is quite simply a guy you could root for. You know, a guy, he won the Good Guy Award in Indianapolis, which means that he's just a courteous human who works well with the media. To me, I like rooting for those guys. I like rooting for the guys that understand that they're a human and he's just a down-to-earth guy. And like that, to me, like that's fun. That's who I want to root for. I agree. And I like all of them. I think Jamal Dean, super personable dude.
Yep.
I think Rico Dowdle is a super personable, like down-to-earth guy. I think Michael Pittman stole the show today, which is exactly what I, was hoping for. DK did it a year ago. When DK walked in a year ago, it was like, this guy's awesome. Like, this guy's just a nice dude. And he's been a nice dude. Yeah. He didn't switch it up one time. You talk to DK at any point during any point of the season, and this guy is a great human. And you're like, that's awesome. But yeah, I agree. I love Michael Pittman after today.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Michael Pittman. I have a family member who has a speech impediment, and it's just really cool to see like players like Casey Concepcion and Michael Pittman be so open about just like going through it, and just being vulnerable enough to like talk about something that could be something you want to keep quiet, something you want to kind of just downplay. But, I think it sets a really great example. And again, like we talk about, and we have kind of theorized that the Steelers were looking to bring in some more, better quote unquote characters, some guys with some more veteran leadership. And you get Jamal Dean, who's a Super Bowl winning cornerback. You get Michael Pittman, who is a revered locker room guy who clearly is a standout individual.
Yes.
Same thing with Rico Dowdle, in addition to everything he brings to on-field production. Like there's a lot to like about these guys in their introductory press conference, but I feel like Michael Pittman's going to be just like a favorite amongst fans this year.
Agreed, dude. Agreed. Skylar, why do we wait on Rodgers? I'm tired of hearing that he hasn't made a decision either way. Either he wants to play for us or not. A simple yes or no. Look, I agree with this. I don't think the Steelers should be waiting around all day.
Mm-hmm.
This is how the Steelers feel, okay? The Steelers feel that they are positive. Conversations with Aaron Rodgers have been positive. They are optimistic. There's some optimism, I should say. It's not overly optimistic. I could tell you this. The Steelers they don't have a deadline in place. They're not even thinking about a deadline yet, but they are prepared fully to have an answer from Aaron by the NFL draft. And I think it's ridiculous, but I think it also shows their confidence in Will Howard and the fact that they don't really care about a backup plan as long as it happens before the NFL draft in case they have to make a decision there. But to me, it's their sign of respect to Will and maybe not respect, but confidence in Will that they don't really have to rush Aaron. Not trying to justify it, just trying to justify it from a Steelers standpoint, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really optimistic read of the situation. And also, as I just mentioned a couple minutes ago, like I've sort of reached my fill on being told the Steelers are confident in Will Howard. So like hearing it again, I'm like, no, that can't be it. Yeah. I think they've made their bed and they have to lie in it as far as Aaron Rodgers is concerned. I agree with you that things have seemed positive this entire time, even with the setback of like there was a deadline, there wasn't a deadline. It still seems like it's been Steelers or nothing since the season ended after the Houston Texans loss. That still remains. I just think there is this weird sort of, they've made their bed, they committed to him without having the commitment back from Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
And so now they are just waiting to see if he follows through. And since they committed to him, before free agency opened up, they were not interested in Kyler Murray seriously. They were not interested in any other options like Malik Willis very seriously. And that leaves them with Aaron Rodgers or Joe Flacco and Kirk Cousins or Will Howard. And they're just like, this is the results of our inaction.
Yep. And it's not ideal, but it's where they're at. It's where they're at. And I'm on the side of it where if Aaron doesn't give you an answer by the draft, tell him to kick rocks, but I think the Steelers are incredible. I don't think they've given him a deadline, but I think they've sure as hell hinted at one saying, look at dude, we need to know before the draft, but they need to know before the draft last year. And they didn't know before the draft last year. So we'll see. Just saw a picture of Michael Pittman Jr. in a Steelers uniform. That is sick. Super fire. Sneed and Walker, Omar, please. L'Jarius Sneed Walker got signed to the Panthers, which, KGK has us here. Rasheed Walker to the Panthers. I'm going to disappoint a lot of people here, okay? But I am almost nearly 100% confident that the Pittsburgh Steelers plan at left tackle is Broderick Jones and Dylan Cook.
100%.
And they have no desire to go any other direction besides Broderick Jones and Dylan Cook. As for L'Jarius Sneed, cool, but I don't really think you need him. If Ramsey's playing corner, how many more corners you need?
Well, you need one just for depth, but like you don't need him to be a starter.
You need another one?
Yeah, they have 4.
They have 5.
Who am I forgetting?
Joey, Jamal, Jalen, Asante, Brandon Eccles.
Oh, you're not
going to
5. You don't need another one.
I don't think you need another one. You're not going to carry 6 on the roster, especially if you're carrying
Elliott,
4 safeties,
Castro, and another safety.
Yeah, they're suited and booted up on a good old corner there. Like I don't think they're going to add anybody. I like L'Jarius Sneed. He can't stay healthy, but I like him.
Yeah, that's my thing too. And Tennessee also just spent $75 million on cornerback.
Shout out to them,
dude. Shout out to
also
them.
Shout out to the Titans for completely saying F you, Houston Texans. We are the Oilers, and we will make sure that's a point for the rest. I love that. I love that.
Check out the rebrand.
Yep.
Back to basics.
Yeah. I agree. Nate's saying
you kind of glossed over the Broderick Jones thing though, which I agree with you 100%. And that's just like awful. That's real bad. I've been pumped about everything for 39.5 minutes of the show today. I'm no longer pumped.
Look, I don't disagree with you, but I do think that that's where they're headed is Broderick versus, and I don't know when he's going to come back. My understanding of the situation is that the Steelers are, they're getting updates continuously, and none of them are pointed in negative directions. They're all positive signs, but they're not going to know for certain until closer to training camp, whether it's going to be training camp or week 1 or during the season or whatever. They like Dylan Cook and what Dylan Cook brings, but that's about it. What?
You want to guess how much this deal's worth, or can you see that?
I can't see it. I'm going to say 1 year, $15 million.
Yeah, that's wrong. Because with incentives, it's worth up to $10 million. Remember part of our conversation yesterday? And it's,
are you kidding me, dude?
You literally said like one of the things that would be like a miss for the Steelers is if they let another team go sign Rasheed Walker for an amount. I think you said less than 18 or something like that, or you threw out a number, right? And this just happened. So how does that feel seeing that realized?
I'm like, so do you ever just not have words because you're so tired?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like Tim Robinson
so mentally.
It's like that Tim Robinson sketch.
Yeah.
It's like I don't even want to be around.
I don't even want to be here anymore. That's how I feel right now. I feel like I'm Tim Robinson standing in the middle of the mall with a ton of makeup on.
I don't want to be here.
I don't want to be here. That's the stupidest thing I've ever. I have no words, dude. No one should have words. Nobody should be happy about this. Nobody should justify this. This is the worst decision the Steelers have made, is to let that go. Shame on you. Shame on you, Pittsburgh Steelers. That's ridiculous. Up to $10 million. The guy's worth nothing. Nothing.
Mm-hmm. Shut up, Mom.
Dude,
silence from you.
That is just so.
I just don't get it. And it confirms Broderick Jones.
That's exactly.
And Dylan Cook are going to battle it out, quote unquote, but it's going to be Broderick Jones, if he's healthy, for 1 more year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yes. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
silence from you. Have you seen that Key and Peele sketch that's now on TikTok?
No.
It's like
I don't have TikTok. I get all my shorts on YouTube, so I'm like 8 months behind.
Oh, I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you later.
I'm like the guy that's on Facebook that's like, yo, dude, look at this. And I'm like, yeah, I saw that 4 years ago. That's me. That's me all the time. Yeah. That sucks, dude. That's so disappointing. I'm so sorry for that one. Yins or Jake, Warren has never felt like a running back 1 to me. Dowdle is a running back 1. I'll push back on this. I think Jaylen Warren is a running back 1. I think in today's NFL, if you're not Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry in his prime, if you're not a Christian McCaffrey, like, what is a running back 1 anymore? Mm-hmm. You know, the NFL is a 2 running back system. You have to complement each other well. That works the best around the league. Ask Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, who turned that into a Super Bowl run. Like, I think that's what Jalen and Rico did. And I think Jalen and Kenny G worked well together, but I think Jalen being an explosive third down, open field running back, and Rico being a north and south vertical guy works so much better together as a 1-2 punch.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Jaylen Warren is a running back 1 by the modern definition for sure.
Yeah.
But I think the approach, and it was the same last year with bringing in Kenny G, is now being mirrored once again by the addition of Rico Dowdle. Like, the plan is to have 2 guys that you feel confident in to handle whatever you throw at them, right? Yes. Because Rico Dowdle is absolutely a north to south vertical runner. He can be a threat in the passing game, right? Like, he had 2, his revenge game against the Dallas Cowboys last year, he had 54 receiving yards on 4 receptions. Is he as dynamic in the receiving game as Jaylen Warren? No. It can free him up to do that, though. And Rico Dowdle is still a guy that can just bring a lot to the table. So I don't agree 100% with Yinzer Jake's point. I do believe Jaylen Warren is number 1 running back, but I also just think that there is, it's not about finding an RB1. It's finding 2 guys you just trust at a similar level.
Agreed. It took so long for us to get away from a bell cow running back system in Pittsburgh. To have 2 guys. Duff, with Brisker being so young, I wish Omar gave him a 3-year deal, 3-year player option after 2 on a 2-year type prove it deal. And I'm going to miss Calvin Austin III. That speed is worth $2 to $5 million, wide receiver 3 to 5 depth piece. I agree. I think Calvin, I don't think the Steelers had any interest in him, but I think Calvin Austin's worth way more than his price tag indicated. And I hope that he gets to prove that, but I don't know if he's going to. He signed a deal that in my head tells me the Giants only look at him as a kick returner and a punt returner. He's not a wide receiver. And that's crazy to me because I think he certainly is. As for Brisker, again, it's always a two-way street. I don't think once Brisker realized his market was low, I don't think he was looking for anything more than a 1-year deal.
Right. And he's, you mentioned Deshaun Elliott's situation earlier, and that is a great, analog and comparison to look for. They are a 1-year deal does not mean regardless of what happens, Jaquan Brisker is no longer with the Steelers in 2027. If things go great, they'll extend him. You know what I mean? Like, that's not going to be a problem. They have no problem rewarding great performance if he lives up to it, and they want him to. I think, just like you said, Noah, like the market dried up and the Steelers have held firm to their evaluations of players, and they weren't willing to give Jaquan Brisker X amount of money. But once he was worth 5.5 or ready to accept that, you got to pounce, And so we'll see where that market value dictates him to be for 2027 and beyond, but one step at a time.
Yeah, I agree. And look at it again. Don't rule out a long-term situation. Don't rule out the Steelers in August being like, oh, Brisker looks fantastic. We have to give him an extension before this. That's what they did with Jaylen Warren. They tendered him, and then before the season, we're like, whoa, slow down, pal. You're here for the next 3 years. We're gonna make that happen. Jerry, what do you guys think about us getting Spencer Rattler? No, it's Mason Rudolph with a little bit more athleticism.
If
Will Howard,
if the Steelers had hired like Scott Tolzien, or if the Steelers had hired their tight end coach who interviewed from the New Orleans Saints.
No.
I don't know. It's something Chase something. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. If there was some more familiarity with that quarterback, then with the new coach coming over to be like, hey, there's like this part of his game that I've seen. Maybe we can mold and develop it. But like, that's not the case. You are literally just taking a flyer and a risk on a player. And he's what, 25, 24?
Rattler's probably 25.
So, young, sure, but like, no need. No need. Unless you're seeing something, Jerry, in Spencer Rattler that I'm missing.
I think some people are like Spencer Rattler believers. I'm not. And I don't think the Steelers have any interest in being a Spencer Rattler believer. But I do think some people are like,
fair enough. Some people believe in Will Levis, I hear.
This guy right here. This guy right here. Give me him all day. All day. Roy G. Bivington. Rico over Gainwell, or Rico less than Gainwell? Or Gainwell over Rico? I think Rico over Kenny G. I think Rico's a better runner than Kenny. I'll say that. I've been saying it. I think Rico Dowdle is a better running back than Kenny G, for sure.
He's a better pure running back than Kenny G. Kenny G is a much better dual threat player.
Yeah. You already had that guy. His name's Jaylen Warren. Right. Kenny G was just the guy that half the season we were like, why is Kenny G taking third downs when you have Jaylen Warren as your third down running back? Why is that? And Mike Tomlin was like, well, there's only a certain amount of downs and you got to take Jaylen off the field at some point. And you're like, well, that's no, that's wrong.
That's how that works.
Yeah. Like, pal, I don't know if you understand this, but that is just not the case. Yeah. Rico Dowdle all day. I think and again, that's nothing to take away from Kenny G. I just think that Rico Dowdle is a physical running back what I like about Rico Dowdle is Rico Dowdle gets better throughout a game. Like if you look, he's got the highest yards per carry after the first quarter or something like that. Mm-hmm. Like he's a guy that as you get rolling, or maybe it's like 10 plus carry. I don't know. But as you get rolling, he tends to get better, which means he's hitting you and you're going down and he's gaining juice. And to me, that's a type of running back that the Steelers need.
Yeah, I think that really you can like split this question into like, is it better overall or better for the Steelers? I'd argue Rico is a much better fit for the Steelers and what they want to do. I probably would take like Kenny G as like just the better player. But again, circumstantial.
Yeah. Yes. 9-8 salad. Kirk Cousins / Will Howard, Tyrod Taylor for insurance. Better than Mason Rudolph, Garrett Nussmeier, and Will Howard for sure. For sure. Look, if Aaron says no, I'm fairly convinced it's Joe Flacco, Kirk Cousins, and Will Howard or Kirk Cousins / Joe Howard / Joe Flacco, Will Howard, and Mason Rudolph. That's their quarterback.
Yes, I 100% agree. I would much prefer Tyrod Taylor
for sure, and I don't think Tyrod Taylor is better than them. He's
certainly not good.
He's just new. You know what I mean? He's just like, I don't know. What about instead of a 40-year-old, we go 36?
Yeah.
Young guy?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
But we've talked about the Tyrod Taylor.
Jameis Winston, dude. Go get Jameis Winston.
He hasn't signed anywhere.
He's in New York still.
How many crab legs do you think it'd take to get him out of there?
Enough. We don't have crab legs here, but we're closer to crab legs than we go to Baltimore once a year. That's what I'm saying.
Is that not good enough for you, Jameis?
That's what I'm saying, dude. That's what I'm saying. I'd go Tyrod Taylor all day long. It just, why not? You know what I mean? Worst case scenario, mobile a little bit.
I'd take anyone over Kirk Cousins. I'd take Jimmy Garoppolo over Kirk Cousins.
No, I would not. I'd take Ben
DiNucci over Kirk Cousins.
That I would do. But to me, Jimmy Garoppolo is Nordstrom, which is just Kohl's, but more terrifying to go into and way more expensive.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Nordstrom is just Kohl's that makes you feel bad.
Yeah. You hate it.
You're like, stop.
You like walk past Nordstrom and you're just like, I don't like anything that's happening in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At least Kohl's, you're like, I do need a pair of khakis. You know, boring, but I need a pair of khakis. Jimmy G would not. Could you imagine Jimmy G trying to be a Yinzer?
No.
Exactly. No. At least Kirk could be a Yinzer. Kirk could live in Westmoreland County, dude. I bet you he'd fit in perfectly. He'd be going to church every Sunday. He'd be having a great time at the Kohl's. He'd be hanging out with the fam. His wife would be at all the events. Jimmy Garoppolo would be like, what's the highest building downtown? And they'd be like, it's 7 stories. He'd be like, what? What are you talking about?
I need an ocean view.
Yeah. You're telling me I can't get a decaf light espresso on a Sunday afternoon? Be like, no, we have a Dunkin'.
Got the dunk.
Closes at noon. So have fun. Have fun. Canadian. Oh my God.
Canadian.
Fantastic name here.
Oh,
Canadians.
Canada.
If we could find a serviceable guard, do we trust Dylan Cook enough to let him start the season at tackle?
I do.
Let me ask this. Would you have more faith going into the season with Broderick / Dylan Cook or with Spencer Anderson starting at guard?
Spencer Anderson at guard.
Me too.
Yeah, Spencer Anderson at guard. I have so much more trust in. I really like Dylan Cook. Right. I find no reasonable amount of, I do not have reasonable enough evidence to fully buy into him being a starting left tackle for 17 games. I want him to earn that opportunity in camp, and hopefully with a serviceable left guard next to him, he could, really earn his keep here with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yes.
I just don't think they're going to allow him that chance to happen. I think Broderick Jones is going to be given extra runway to be the starter once again.
For sure.
And I think Spencer Anderson, when it's all said and done, has succeeded in any role that the Steelers have put him in.
Yep.
And I would expect the same at the left guard position if he starts.
Me too. I like Spencer Anderson in this situation. If we can find a serviceable guard, do we trust Dylan Cook enough to let him start the season at tackle? I do. I think fine. You know what I mean? Do I think he looked good at the end of last season? No. But do I think that he started 4 games before his first playoff game? Yes. I'm cool with letting that ride out and see what you got, just like you would Spencer Anderson or anybody else. Also want to give a shout out to Canadians becoming a new YouTube member. So pumped to have you, my friend, because that is a fantastic name. Please join the Discord. and make your name Canadians. Please do that. Killer B, in the first 2 rounds, draft Lemon or Tate, depending on who is there. Second round, get Jacob Rodriguez and trade back to get Hunter. Would you do this? Yeah, the only thing that I think will kill you is you'd have to go. Jacob Rodriguez will be there at the end of the second round. You got to trade up into the second round, early in the second round, to get a Lee Hunter. You'd have to go, I think, 35 to 40, somewhere in that ballpark. And I wouldn't be shocked if he gets picked 33. You know?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if he gets picked after 21, between the end of the first round and the beginning of the second round.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what Killaby is sort of getting at in general is just something that I fully anticipate this team to do, and that is to move up into those, 30 to 40, 45 range, use that pick to take somebody like a Lee Hunter, and then come back in at 53 or maybe later in round 2 again to get another player like a Jacob Rodriguez. I think it might also be a safety as someone they're targeting there. But yeah, round 1, I still think wide receiver makes a ton of sense if they're not going to go with one of those like hulking D tackles that we've talked about so much.
Yeah, I agree. Underground Egyptian Cobb salad. My guy, I honestly think Will is going to be special. So does Mike McCarthy. And I will stick to it. And I hope I'm proven wrong. I continue to say that. I hope Will Howard proves me so wrong. But just look at odds are reasonable odds are what I look at. I try to look at everything in a realistic standpoint, and realistically, it is nearly impossible for a 6th round pick at quarterback to be given enough leeway and enough time to develop into what you need to develop into. Maybe Will Howard does need or can become great in the NFL, but I doubt it's going to take one NFL game or one NFL season, and he's not going to be given 2. He's not going to be given 2 seasons. I don't think he ever gets 1, but I don't think he ever gets 2 seasons to prove it, and I think he needs more than a season to develop into something good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I love the admiration for Will Howard.
Me too.
And
me too.
And I share the admiration for the person that Will Howard is. Like, I want to make that abundantly clear in all of this.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I just don't share the same assessment of him as a football player.
No, I don't. And again, I hope we're wrong. I like him. KGK, Kyler wasn't signed because he wasn't old enough.
His parents weren't there for the permission slip.
My guy, you know what's up for sure. Shout out to Kyler Murray, who is going to look great in Minnesota when he holds up that MVP trophy. I was told, like I said yesterday, I was told that his camp reached out to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I would guess just to due diligence. You know what I mean?
For a play date.
Yeah. How's Will? You know what I mean? Do you have anybody the same size? I also found out that the Steelers they weren't interested. They didn't reciprocate that interest. So there were no conversations had between the two sides, which that hurt a little bit. I'm not going to lie. That one sucked, but
fantastic.
Shout out to Kyler, man. He's going to look fantastic when he wins that MVP award this year. I'm so excited for him. Roy G. Bivington, follow-up. Would you rather have KG or Rico? I'd rather have Rico Dowdle.
I think I'd rather have KG. In Pittsburgh specifically, again, like
we're not playing Dallas Cowboys here.
Yeah, like I think Rico complements Jaylen Warren better in the offense. Yeah, I'd rather have KG personally. I like his versatility.
Yeah, I like that. Yins or Salad, do you think PQ and Peyton are enough, or do you expect more moves?
No and no.
I actually don't. So I was told that the Dallas Cowboys trade talks were very overblown. Like,
a lot of stuff has been overblown this free agency cycle.
There has been a lot of rumors.
4 or 5 stories that have picked up traction, and they weren't even close to being happening.
Yes.
Or like to happening.
Yes, I agree. PQ is going to be in Pittsburgh this season.
Yeah.
They paid him a roster bonus today. He will be in Pittsburgh in 2020 and 2026. I think it's very interesting that they kept Cole Holcomb and Malik Harrison. I think that could change. Doesn't look like it's going to right now. I think closer to the draft, that could take a turn for sure.
I agree, and I stand by my answer. I don't think PQ and Peyton are enough as the starters.
No,
but I don't anticipate any more moves to the position.
I agree. Egyptian Cobb salad. This hasn't been the best free agency in a long time. Hopefully, the wind of change has hit the Berg. Also, baby girl will be here any day. Shout out my guy. Congratulations. That's awesome. It's nuts to think that
the side salad's here.
The side salad's here. I feel like it's been 10 years of us talking about the side salad. That's incredible. It does feel like there's a change of one, but look at it. New regime, a lot going on. I'm excited. I'm excited for sure. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Nate Moore, I feel like all the attention in the AFC North is on Hendrickson and Garrett. Bold prediction, Patrick Graham schemes dark horse TJ Watt back to Defensive Player of the Year. That would be incredible. Do I think it's going to happen? No, but that would be so much fun.
That'd be so awesome.
So awesome.
That'd be so awesome. And, like, I'd probably throw my money on Myles Garrett again, of course, but, like, it ain't going to be Trey Hendrickson. And I'm just going to keep this hateful energy towards Jesse Minter for as long as possible. I think he's going to do a poor job with Trey Hendrickson. Who knows if the departure of Jim Schwartz from the Cleveland Browns, how much of an impact that will have on Myles Garrett. I know he's the greatest defensive player in the league, but like
ever, if you ask him.
I mean, if you ask him ever, and he's got a case maybe, but not really. My point is Jim Schwartz, right? That is his name, Jim.
Yeah, Jim Schwartz.
Departing is going to have an effect on them. They have a whole new regime in a lot of ways. Like, I'm not looking at the AFC North for my defensive player of the year in 2026. I think there's going to be just too much change, and someone else is going to.
Micah Parsons here.
Micah Parsons.
The NFL is a storyline based Defensive Player of the Year award. That's what it always is. It's what it's always been. Offensive Player of the Year gets decided by how good you are. Defensive Player of the Year gets decided on whether or not you need to retire with a Defensive Player of the Year award or not. And Micah Parsons needs to retire one, and that's what's going to happen. William, since you guys do the Steelers practices, what's your fair comparison between Will Howard and Kenny Pickett? To me, they feel like the same player. They are not remotely close to the same player, which is good news for you, for sure, and for everybody else. Look at Kenny Pickett. No, just no. I was there from the start of Kenny Pickett till the end of Kenny Pickett. There's never a moment of Kenny Pickett where you were like, all right, that was awesome. That was a good moment. That was a bad moment. It just always felt like the same stuff. Now, granted, Matt Canada was his offensive coordinator, so the Steelers were running the worst offense in the world. Mm-hmm. So it was hard to indicate whether or not some of it was Kenny or whether or not some of it was just a really bad offense. He also didn't really have the weapons that he should have had. Kenny had a lot of things going against him. I think Will, just from a watch him do individual drills, watch him throw a football like perspective, it's different. You watch Will throw a football and you go, that is just a regular quarterback throwing a football. You watch Kenny Pickett throw a football and you go, that took everything in his power to throw that football. It did. Like, it really did. Like, the man is not Kenny Pickett is a really good athlete who played football and was good enough to be good enough to get drafted. You know what I mean? Now that draft pick status is carrying him further into his NFL career. But like, let's be really honest. Like, Kenny Pickett's not designed to play quarterback. He doesn't have the body structure for it. He doesn't have the hand size for it. Yeah, like all that goes in. A normal person gripping an NFL football is crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's so much bigger than the football that you'll play catch with your buddy in the backyard, you know? And to me, like, Will just looks like, it's like, oh yeah, that was just a pass, you know? Kenny, it was just like, that took everything in your power to get that out there.
Yeah. I think my closest comparison that I can kind of gleam about Will Howard from watching him in practice last year is like Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, like, that's exactly what he looks like. Is Mason Rudolph.
You look at him and you're like, effortless throw.
Yep.
Nothing spectacular.
Nope.
Mechanics are fine.
Yep.
And that's, you know what I mean? And then you're like, that's it. You know, and like that's not a dig, that's not a negative. That is better than 99.9% of the world. You know what I mean? And a lot of other players who have contracts to play the same quote unquote position, but doesn't make him a star.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's just, that's the difference, because Kenny showed up and you were just like, this guy ain't a star, but I guess he's better than
I don't know if he's a
Mitch
football
Trubisky.
player.
I don't really know if any of these guys should be playing football here. Yikes. Pittsburgh Primo. Hello, Noah and Jacob. How was the Irish Gala yesterday?
I wasn't there.
He wasn't there. I dipped after Mike Tomlin walked by us and said that he wasn't talking after making us wait 4 hours.
Can I ask you a clarifying question?
Yeah.
Did all Steelers talk or Steelers on SI, where you can find our written coverage wing, and or any other media outlets, did they request to be there at this gala?
Yeah, we all had to.
Or
we were sent a press release that said the Irish Funds Gala of Pittsburgh will have these speakers, and the guest of honors receiving awards were Mike Tomlin, Michael Keaton, and Kaya Tomlin.
Right.
And all three of them, plus Art Rooney, were set to speak and answer questions from the media. So the media showed up. We got to talk to Michael Keaton, which is super cool. Got to talk to
nuts.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Love him.
Got to talk to Art Rooney, and Mike T walked right past us. 4 hours later, because the media window was 5 to 5:30, Mike T walked in at 6:45, and then walked past us the first time at 6:45, walked past us the second time and said no questions at 7:15. Shout out to that guy, and it was over. So yeah, it was. Yeah, and I don't ever get mad. I'm the least aggravated human being ever when it comes to this stuff. I'm a very aggravated individual, but when it comes to like work, like whatever, dude, like who cares? It's football. It's not that big of a deal. My wife waited for me at dinner for like an hour and a half for me to go, because we were supposed to meet at 6:30 or 6:15 or whatever. And I got there at 8:00 because Mike T decided to take forever. Again.
And didn't even talk,
man. I got everybody tells me Mike T doesn't owe me a damn thing, and I understand that.
But you didn't. That's why I asked the question. It's not like all Steelers talk just showed up to ambush Mike Tomlin and ask him a question. We're invited.
We're invited there to talk to Mike Tomlin. Look, again, man, whatever. It is what it is, but that's the last time I see Mike T for a while. We ended on a sour note. I'm going to say that one. We ended on a sour note. Pittsburgh Primo's got another one for us. I heard that Pittsburgh is interested in Crosby and is looking to trade for him. They are not.
That's our fault. Sorry.
Yeah, that one actually might be our fault. No, they don't have interest in Maxx Crosby right now. I could see Maxx Crosby's price tag dipping significantly before the NFL draft, and I still expect him to get moved. Right now, all my thoughts on it are the best way for Maxx Crosby to keep his trade value is to act like he's staying in Las Vegas, and for Vegas to act like he's staying there. That 100%. Way teams aren't, jumping out at the whole situation.
100%.
Nate Moore was losing Connor Heyward the result of a new coaching staff that doesn't value special teams as high. I think his role on offense is very replaceable. I'm actually, I don't know. I thought Connor was a really easy return, and the fact that they didn't bring him back to me tells me something like maybe they have another option, maybe he got a better deal than what they were offering him from Vegas, but I thought it was easy, and they only have 2 tight ends on the roster right now. Like, they got to add 2 more at least. They're only going to keep one of the 2, but they got to add 2 more. I think that they were pursuing him. I don't know this, but I think they were pursuing him, and he got a better offer.
Yeah, that certainly might be the case. I read the situation as new coaching staff, less familiar with sort of what value this player brings, right? Like, it was very easy for, if Danny Smith is still a special teams coach, to sign him to that 2-year, $5.5 million deal he signed with Las Vegas. But, Crossman doesn't know him. Mike McCarthy doesn't know him very well.
Yep.
Brian Angelico doesn't know him very well. Like, I think it suggested to me that it was more about getting a fresh start, getting a new opportunity, rather than having to try to prove himself all over again in the same place that he's had to be doing the same thing.
Yes, I agree. Thomas, I cannot lie. Best day of my life when I woke up and Kenny Gainwell and Jonnu Smith are off my team. Also, Sneed was just released. Thomas, you're what I got to call you out on here, pal, is that you're not a Kenny G fan, but you're a L'Jarius Sneed fan. And those just don't add up, dude. Like, they just don't add up. Like, Kenny G's a quality player. L'Jarius Sneed was a quality player 3 years ago. Where are we going here, pal? Where are we going?
Anywhere.
I love it. I respect the hell out of it. I don't think L'Jarius Sneed is an option for the Steelers. I don't even think I'd ask them to go get him because I think he's banged up too much.
Yeah.
Like, I like Jamal Dean way more. But look I like L'Jarius Sneed and he is going to end up somewhere.
Someone will give him a shot. Yeah, he's a veteran. Yeah. He's a respected one at that.
Exactly. Maddie, with not bringing back Calvin. Oh, sorry. No, we didn't answer this one. Without bringing Calvin Austin or Connor Heyward back, do you think the Steelers are actually trying to move in a new direction? Also, Parham is a free agent. Did we bring in the Eagles tight end or draft one? I like Donald Parham. I kind of hope that that's where they go with this. I would also expect them to draft somebody in the late rounds, 5th, 6th, 7th round pick.
Yeah, and they had, I forget, they had a Penn State tight end in for a visit.
Oh, did they? It's not Sadiq?
Not. Wait, you mean the guy from Oregon?
Oh, yeah. I don't know why I thought he was from Penn State.
Not him.
I think I got Ione on the brain. I was talking to
not Kenyon Sadiq, the star tight end from Oregon. They brought in Penn State. They brought in somebody who was a local visit. So he either went to Penn State or Pitt. So it didn't count against their top 30 visits. But a tight end visited with the team. So that tells me there's a little bit more interest. And like at the combine, by comparison, there was just no one there. No. So like that wasn't very helpful.
Yeah, I agree. Going Duff next. What kind of surgery did Broderick have? Fusion surgery? This is what my guess is. This is what my understanding of it is. I don't really know. The Steelers won't release anything. Fusion surgery is what's been reported. I'm not a doctor. I know nothing about that stuff, but
they had to replace his neck.
Yeah, whole neck, Scott.
Whole neck.
Don't say we said that.
Just chin and then collarbone now.
That's it, dude.
It's crazy.
That's it. Renegade Minka, guys are tan khaki pants, the new ASD studio uniform.
We've been matching this week unintentionally.
Yeah. I think we decided that we have to look better now that we are on camera, but I'm not gonna lie to you, the best show I did all week, I was in sweatpants. So it might come back. I missed the sweatshirts. Today I had to go to the facility and interview guys, so I had to look nice, but mostly.
There is something about having 3/4 of our body on camera that makes me a little bit more self-conscious about what I wear.
I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. You don't even know how many podcasts I've done fresh out the gym. You know what I mean?
Oh,
and that's ending now. Now we're here.
No, I gotta brush my hair and stuff.
Yeah, I gotta put a hat on and stuff. You know what I'm saying? By the way, guys, let me know. Seven's in the chat. Should I shave my head off? Because that's a real thought that's going through my head these days. It's a real thought. Poke salad, Nate. I heard Slay might be coming back. We had to highlight that one. Couldn't let that one slip. Shout out to Poke on that guy. Pittsburgh Hornets. Which will be higher? Total Steelers touchdowns last year, 44. The number of days from today that it will take Aaron Rodgers to sign. How many days? It's pretty close to 44 days
until the draft.
It's 40 days. It's 40 days. Oh, I'm gonna go touchdowns last year.
Yeah, I agree, but it's not a lot.
Not by far,
it's closer than you think.
Yeah, this is a very close number, I would say. But I'd go touchdowns. Lindsay, Noah, how do you feel about Kyler? It hurt a lot. Shout out to my boy Jack Markowski, who wrote a story for si.com/NFL/Steelers that you could go find, titled "Steelers Just Lost Their Best Quarterback Option," which is so true. You should have got him. Kyler's going to win MVP. And I'm so excited for him to win MVP, dude. Shout out to Kyler Murray, man. That guy just made the best business decision ever, and the Steelers messed up all day. Renegade, Noah, did Cam take a little jab on Instagram at the Steelers for not recognizing Connor's ability? I did think that he took a little.
What was it?
You didn't see his post?
No.
I'll pull it up here. But it is. I thought it was, certainly. My thoughts on it were that it wasn't a jab at the Steelers, but more a jab at the fan base. Like that, there's like that one stupid Twitter account that I absolutely cannot stand, dude. It's like Pickensburg or something. I hate to even say his name. He's like the worst Twitter account in the world. If you're watching the show, don't watch it anymore. Like, dude, he's the worst, man. He's every player you're talking about. Every player in the locker room hates him. Like, he's just a giant troll. Who I've heard is like just an awful human as well, which like, I mean, it's not about. I think it was more so at that than anything else. I think it was the amount of Connor critics there were, less Pittsburgh Steelers. But this is what he had to say. He said, quote, "So proud of this dude, Connor Heyward. You work your ass off." Spelled off wrong. Shout out to Cam. "So excited for this next chapter in your story. You were never appreciated enough for the player you are. Can't wait to watch you capitalize on a great situation. I've enjoyed this very cool chapter where I got to say I played with my brother. I love you. I'm proud of you. And now you go and make your legacy."
I'll take one more opportunity. Listen, it's like there's never been a special teams player who has gotten more attention for doing less than Connor Heyward with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that's because he's Cam Hayward's brother. So did that come with unfair criticism as well? Yes. But throw sevens in the chat if you could name 4 special teams players from every single Steelers team of the last 25 years. Nobody could do that in the entire NFL because nobody knows who these players are. But miraculously, everyone knew who Connor Heyward was for 4 years while he was with the team.
Yeah.
So, I found it. This little violin. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry we didn't appreciate him enough, Cam.
Cam has become a villain, man.
And I love that he embraces that heel turn. You know,
too.
like who cares what you know what I mean? He's gonna retire soon enough. Wouldn't give a shit what people think either.
Yeah, I agree. I agree for sure. Poke, Noah, how many more call-ins do we need for a show tomorrow? Mine must have come in late. I honestly think we have like 2 call-ins. So if you guys call and load it up, we'll do it. But I can't make a call-in show for 2. Poke, hit me on Discord. You know what I mean? And I'll answer for you. If we don't do a call-in show, I'll let you know tomorrow morning. For sure. We're going to rapid fire a couple of these as we finish off the show here. Thomas, is there a hurricane happening outside? This is insane.
Apparently.
Who let Dean wear 35? I like 35.
Arthur Millette.
Shout out, dude. Shout out to Arthur Millette for sure. I like 35. I got no issues with 35. Got no issues with 35 at all.
Dorothy Gale, be careful out there with this wind. This is unbelievable.
For sure. Clifton, breaking news. The Pittsburgh Steelers are finalizing a trade to send wide receiver DK Metcalf to the Denver Broncos. Steelers will receive a 26 and 27 4th-round pick. Details still coming in. NFL source. Clifton, if you are right, shout out to you, my friend. Don't know if you're going to be, but shout out to you, my friend. We'll see what happens. For sure. All right, we're going to finish it off. A couple more here. Oh, we did this one. Yeah, right. It's hard to read up there.
It is hard to read.
Pittsburgh Primo, do you guys think we made a mistake on waiting for AR to make a decision and let our quarterback slip through our fingers? Like, yes and no. Like, I think it's a mistake to let A-Rod do what he's doing. I also I don't think you were getting a better option. The Steelers didn't have any contact with Malik Willis.
Right.
They didn't have any contact with Kyler Murray. Like, who are you going to go get? You
well, I think that's the mistake, is that they let this 42-year-old quarterback who is not the best make them, hold them hostage in a sense, where they just didn't feel inclined to go after and meet with Malik Willis or speak with Kyler Murray. And that's where the mistake came in.
Yes. And let's finish it off here with good old Pittsburgh Hornets. Between the two of you, if you had to eat a number of McNuggets for each day Rodgers doesn't sign from today until he signs, could you do it? Frickin' ease, my friend.
Unless we're talking 3 digits or more, that's the only time I'm starting to think about it. I could eat
100 nuggets. Put 100 nuggets in front of me. I'll eat 100 nuggets today on the show.
And between the two of us, we would take down 100 nuggies.
Bro, Aaron Rodgers could retire, okay? And I got it. No issues. We'll be just fine.
I agree with that.
All day. all day. Shout out to Pittsburgh Hornets.
Chicken nuggets, chicken
all
nuggies.
day, dude. Some sauce, give me the whole
hungry.
9.
Holy shit.
Jacob's like, get me out of here right now. All right, y'all. With that said, we're heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. And as always, find all our work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. Shout out to our members and our subscribers one more time. Hit that like and subscribe button before you head out of here. And we'll be back on Monday. Until then, enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.